So as you may have seen, the next Diablo 4 class, the Spiritborn, has finally been fully revealed. We got an hour-long developer livestream going over all of the development aspects of this class. Then a bunch of content creators got to stream a bunch of gameplay for the class. And all in all, we got quite a lot of information for this upcoming class, including all of their skills, their unique class mechanic, a bunch of the uniques coming with the class, a bunch of their legendary aspects. So we actually got the majority of this class fully revealed. And in future videos, I will be going much more in depth with different aspects of this class, including doing some theory crafting for some possible builds. But in this video, I wanted to go over a general overview of how this class is going to play and how a lot of their main mechanics are going to work. But I think the biggest element you have to understand for the Spiritborn is their Spirit Guardians, because their Spirit Guardians is how the entirety of this class is designed. These Spirit Guardians are going to be their ultimate abilities. Every single ability of the Spiritborn is going to have a Spirit Guardian tag on them. Their unique class mechanic is fully focused around their Spirit Guardians. So no matter what you're doing on this class, it's always going to be tied back to one of these Spirit Guardians, and there's 4 of them. There's the Jaguar Spirit Guardian, which is focused on really aggressive, fast-moving attacks and increasing your attack speed, or even having like multi-strike effects. Then you have the Eagle, which is going to be focused on more tactical gameplay, being able to move all around the map to get away from enemies and adding in a bit more ranged attacks. Then you have the Gorilla, which, as you would expect, is going to be a more tanky bruiser playstyle. It's also going to heavily tie into Thorns. And then finally, we have the Centipede, which is going to be fully focused on poisoning everything on your screen and then doing quite a lot of healing, a lot of the time healing from your poisons. And as mentioned, these Spirit Guardians are also going to be tied into every single skill for the Spiritborn. And the primary way this is going to come in at a baseline is that every skill is going to have a Spirit Guardian as one of their ability tags. So if you compare this to most of the classes, you have like basic ability tags, mobility ability tags, or core ability tags. And for the Spiritborn, one of their tags on every skill is going to be one of the Spirit Guardians. So for instance, you could have the basic skill Rock Splitter, which would also have the Gorilla ability tag. Then you could have another basic skill, which is Thunder Spike, which would have the Eagle ability tag. Now, as is the case with all ability tags, those tags don't do anything on their own, and you'll need other effects to tie into those tags, but you'll be getting quite a lot of other effects that tie into those tags. And the first way this is done is through the Spiritborn's unique class mechanic. And this is again going to be tied to the Spiritborn's 4 spirits. And their unique class mechanic is going to come with 2 different sections. There's going to be the primary bonus and the secondary bonus. And the primary bonus is going to be much more substantial, and you're going to get it much earlier on. And as you would expect, you're going to choose between the Eagle, the Jaguar, the Gorilla, and the Centipede. Now, the primary bonus is going to play very heavily into whatever build you're trying to create, because a primary bonus is not only going to come with a very powerful effect, but depending on what you choose, it's also going to add that Spirit Guardian's tag to every single one of the abilities on top of the other tags they have. So let's say you choose the Eagle as your primary bonus. This is going to add the Eagle tag to all skills. So let's say you go back and choose that Rock Splitter ability that normally only has the Gorilla tag on it. Now it's also going to have the Eagle tag. So it's going to have Gorilla and the Eagle tags. But then the primary effect for this choice is casting an Eagle skill, which will be all skills now, grants 2 Storm Feathers up to a maximum of 8. When you evade, all Storm Feathers are fired, dealing 100% lightning damage and making targets vulnerable for 3 seconds. So as you can tell, that's a pretty strong effect, and just having all your skills being Eagle skills ties very heavily into the strong effect, and it's going to work the exact same way for all of the other primary bonuses. When you choose Jaguar, all skills will be Jaguar skills. When you choose Gorilla, all skills will be Gorilla skills. And these effects that are applied to all of your skills are also going to be very heavily tied into the theme of that Spirit Guardian. So for instance, the Gorilla being focused on being super tanky and tying into Thorns gives you an effect that helps helps with that. So casting a Gorilla skill deals 100% thorn damage to enemies you hit and grants a barrier for 10% of maximum life up to 40% for 3 seconds. So now if you choose Gorilla, you're going to want to be going heavily into thorns because now just 100% of your thorns is on every single one of your ability attacks, which is also really strong because you can scale your thorns damage much more heavily than you can scale like base skill damage. So this one in particular could be pretty crazy. Now for the secondary bonuses of your class mechanic, they're going to be much less substantial and they don't have the effect where it applies that tag to all of your skill. So you can mix and match your secondary and primary bonuses in whichever way you want. You could choose Eagle for primary and Gorilla for secondary. And let's say you choose Gorilla for your secondary bonus. This would increase your maximum resolve by 2, and when you have at least 5 stacks of resolve, you are unstoppable. And you may be asking, well, what's resolve? That sounds like it's something new, which it is, because there is a few different new mechanics being added with the Spiritborn. Now, resolve at a baseline increases your damage reduction by 20% while active. Taking direct damage consumes a stack of resolve, and you can hold up to 8 stacks. So basically how this works is when you get effects that can give you resolve, you'll get a stack of resolve that can stack up to 8 times at a base, and when you take damage, that damage is reduced by 20%, but it removes a stack of resolve. So that's going to be a new mechanic in Diablo 4. Currently, it's primarily just going to be applied to the Spiritborn, but I would not be surprised if we see these mechanics added to other classes. You can kind of think of these new mechanics as something similar to like Overpower. But then the Spiritborns also have a new mechanic called Ferocity, and Ferocity increases your attack speed by 5% per stack. This effect stacks up to 4 times and lasts for 4 seconds. And obviously this Ferocity mechanic is going to tie pretty heavily into Jaguar. So if you took the secondary bonus for Jaguar, your maximum Ferocity is increased by 1, and you gain 1 stack of Ferocity whenever you kill an enemy or damage a boss. So even though these mechanics aren't going to be able to be used until you have an effect that actually gives you them, looking at these secondary bonuses, you can basically start off getting these effects just with your unique class mechanic. Now, what's going to get really interesting is how your Spirit Guardians and the Spirit Guardian tags on all of your skills is going to tie into other effects, specifically legendary powers and uniques. Because as we've gone over so far, every skill is going to have a Spirit Guardian tag on it at a base. Then you're going to be choosing your unique class mechanic that's also going to apply another Spirit Guardian tag to every skill. So you could now have 2 tags on every skill, depending on what skills you choose, but then you're also going to have additional ways to scale this even more with certain items. For instance, one of the unique items we've seen seems absolutely ridiculous when it comes to this specifically, and this is the unique helm called Harmony. This kind of seems like the Tempest Roar for the Spiritborn. Now, the special of this unique is your skills are all additionally either Jaguar, Eagle, Gorilla, or Centipede skills based on your secondary Spirit Hall choice. And what this is referring to is your unique class mechanic. So as we went over, you would normally choose a primary bonus, and that would add that skill tag to every skill. So if you choose Eagle, all skills are now also Eagle skills. So if you go back up, choose Rock Splitter as your ability, it'll have Gorilla and Eagle skill tags on them. But if you also use this unique helmet, the secondary bonus you choose will also add that Spirit Guardians tag to all skills as well. So let's say for your primary bonus, you choose Eagle. Now all skills will have the Eagle skill tag on them. And then let's say you choose Jaguar for your secondary bonus. That means all skills will now both have Eagle and Jaguar as skill tags. So let's say you choose those for your class mechanic, then you go back up and you choose that Rock Splitter skill. Now this skill will have the Gorilla tag because that's what it comes with. Then it'll have the Eagle skill tag on it from your primary bonus and the Jaguar tag from getting the secondary bonus mixed with this unique item. So now that skill will have literally 3 Spirit Guardian skill tags on it. And that could play pretty heavily into different effects through your skill tree, through different passives, or through different upgrades on it. But the second part of this unique helm is also crazy because each spirit type on a skill increases its damage by 50%. So now this Rock Splitter would have those 3 Spirit Guardian guardian tags on it, but it would also just have 150% damage increase. Now, this doesn't mean this is how you're going to use this unique helm at all times, because that would be pretty limiting, only being able to choose a skill that doesn't share a spirit tag with your primary and secondary bonuses. But what this does do is give you quite a lot of build options. In fact, I think the Spiritborn at a base is going to have a lot more possible builds than every other class. And I think that's kind of how this class is being built. It's being built to be able to hybridize itself very easily, which is just going to give you more build opportunities. Now, as we've been going over, the spirits are the major part of the Spiritborn. Pretty much everything ties back to your spirits. And this is also how the ultimates are going to work for the Spiritborn, because every one of their ultimates is one of the spirit. You have the Devourer ultimate, which is the Centipede spirit. You have the Hunter, which is the Jaguar spirit, the Seeker, which is the Eagle, and then the Protector, which is the Gorilla. One very interesting thing with the Spiritborn is, since they've been able to develop it as the live service of Diablo 4 has been going on, they've been able to take a lot of those learnings and apply it to the Spiritborn. One of the big issues with Diablo 4, specifically with class design, is that a lot of the ultimates in the game still aren't very strong, especially damage ultimates. It seems the ultimates for the Spiritborn are going to be very strong. So for instance, you have the Devourer ultimate, which is the Centipede. This has a 45-second cooldown at a base, and when you use this, you summon the Centipede spirit. It's a big centipede that pops out of the ground, and it'll start blasting enemies in a line for pretty big damage and spitting at others for 40% damage, and it lasts for 15 seconds. Now, at a base, before looking at the upgrades, it seems like a decent skill. Depending on how the scaling actually works, it may be in a similar strength to a lot of the other ultimates that have been constantly buffed up over time. The upgrades of these ultimates are also very strong, and is one of the big ways in where these ultimates are actually going to be good. So the first upgrade is, as it emerges, the Devourer launches 10 toxic globs that apply 105% poison damage over 6 seconds where they land. So already this skill is scaling pretty heavily, and I think scaling a lot heavier than a lot of the other ultimates would normally get. But the second upgrade is where this particular ultimate gets absolutely ridiculous. So while the Devourer is active, if a non-boss enemy's remaining life becomes poisoned, they die instantly and unleash a pestilent swarm that deals 30% damage per hit to enemies it passes through. So if you've ever played a very heavy poison build, you'll be able to just get enemies to where their full health bar is poisoned, but then the poison has to keep ticking down to end up killing them. But with this, if your ultimate is out, which it lasts 15 seconds at a base, if you do that to any enemy, it instantly dies and spawns another effect, so it'll keep swirling around and doing even more damage. And if you extend this into the end game and extend this into, say, pit runs, being able to just heavily poison enemies and instantly kill them is absolutely absurd. And not only instantly kill them, but spawn an additional pestilent swarm that's going to be dealing even more damage, potentially applying even more poison, which just feeds back into everything getting insta-killed. So at a base, this ultimate is incredibly strong, has multiple different effects that are going on, and is actually an ultimate that you would want to use just from its base effects and upgrades alone, not even talking about all of the additional effects that are going to tie into it, because so much is tied into these spirit tags on all of your skills. So I think this will give a good overview of what you can expect from the Spiritborn class, looking at it from more of a top-down view. And like mentioned, I'm going to do a ton of additional videos going much more in depth with different parts of the Spiritborn class and just theory crafting possible builds, because we actually have a lot of information for this class that actually allows us to start to put together some initial builds. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.